I've always been a light sleeper, the kind of person who wakes up if the wind brushes against the window too hard or if the floorboards creak the wrong way. That night was no different. I woke up at 2:47 a.m., staring at the ceiling, feeling that familiar heaviness of half-sleep pressing down on me. The house was silent, too silent. I rolled onto my side, sighing. I knew I wouldn't be able to fall back asleep anytime soon. Out of habit, I grabbed my phone from the nightstand. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for. Maybe some mindless scrolling to lull me back to sleep. But as I swiped through my notifications, one caught my eye. Motion detected. Living room camera. 2:42 a.m. I frowned. That didn't make sense. I lived alone. The only living thing in this house besides me was a dying houseplant near the window. No pets, no visitors. I hesitated for a moment before tapping the notification, my stomach tightening. The security app opened, and the footage loaded. The dim, grainy view of my living room flickered onto the screen. My couch, my coffee table, the faint glow of the streetlights outside. Everything looked normal at first. Then I saw myself. I was lying on the couch, asleep, my breath caught in my throat. That wasn't possible. I was in bed. I had been in bed this whole time. I watched, heart hammering, as the version of me on the screen shifted slightly, like I was dreaming. Then, at exactly 2:43 a.m., my body moved. Slowly, unnaturally. The me in the video sat up. My mouth felt dry as I watched my own figure lift its head, staring directly at the camera. I couldn't make out my face in the dim light, but I knew, somehow I knew, that whatever was looking at the camera wasn't me. Then, without a sound, the figure stood up and walked out of frame. I wanted to tell myself it was a glitch, a corrupted recording, something normal. But deep down, I knew the truth. Because at that moment, sitting up in bed, I heard a sound outside my bedroom door. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Coming closer. And then, a knock. The knock was soft. Almost polite. As if whatever was on the other side of the door knew I was awake. Knew I was listening. My breath hitched in my throat. I stared at the door, my fingers frozen around my phone, my mind racing through 100 explanations. But none of them made sense. I was alone. I was supposed to be alone. The knock came again. 3 slow, deliberate taps. I swallowed hard, forcing myself to move. My hand trembled as I reached for the lamp on my nightstand, flicking it on. A weak, yellow light flooded the room, barely pushing back the darkness. What do I do? Call the police? Grab something to defend myself? But my body refused to move further. And then, a voice. Low. Familiar. My voice. Let me in. My stomach twisted violently. I wanted to scream, to run, to do anything but sit there frozen. But the sheer impossibility of it locked me in place. I could still hear the faint static from the security app on my phone. My mind screamed at me to check the cameras again, to see if that thing was still in the house. With shaking fingers, I tapped the app, switching to the live feed of the hallway. And there it was, standing right outside my bedroom door. It was me. Not just someone who looked like me, it was me. Same clothes, same posture. But there was something wrong. My head was tilted at an unnatural angle, my arms hanging stiff at my sides. And my face was blurry, like a distorted video, smudged and shifting, as if reality itself was rejecting it. I barely had time to process the horror of it before the voice came again, softer this time, almost coaxing. I know you're awake. My vision blurred with panic. This isn't real. This can't be real. The handle turned. I leapt out of bed, scrambling backward until I hit the far wall. The door didn't open, but the thing on the other side must have sensed my movement, because it laughed. A sick, warped imitation of my own voice. Then, just as suddenly as it had started, it stopped. Silence. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, my breath coming in short gasps. My phone screen flickered, the camera feed still active. My stomach dropped. The hallway was empty. It was gone. But I didn't hear footsteps. I didn't hear anything. And then one final notification popped up on my screen. New recording, Bedroom camera? 2:47 a.m. I don't have a camera in my bedroom. I stared at the notification, my heart hammering so hard it felt like my ribs would crack. Bedroom camera? That wasn't possible. I never installed a camera in here. The air around me felt thick, pressing against my skin, like the room itself was watching. My fingers hovered over the notification, my body screaming at me not to look. But I had to. I had to know. I tapped the screen. The video loaded, black at first and then static. Warped, glitching lines flickered across the screen before finally stabilizing. The angle was wrong, too high up, like the camera was mounted near the ceiling. It showed my bed, my nightstand, me. I was in bed, lying down, eyes closed. The me in the video looked exactly as I had minutes ago. But something was off. The air around me in the footage seemed thick, like a haze. And then, from the corner of the screen, something moved. A shape, barely visible at first, creeping from the shadows. Long-limbed, too long. Its movements were slow, deliberate, like it was savoring the moment. I wanted to shut the video off. I wanted to throw my phone across the room and run. But I couldn't. I had to see. The figure stepped fully into view, and my blood turned to ice. It was me, but not me. Its face was still blurry, like the footage was corrupted, its body moving in a way that no human should. It stood by the edge of my bed, staring down at my sleeping form. And then, it leaned down. I watched, paralyzed, as the thing that wore my face slowly bent over the me in the bed. It moved closer, closer, until its face was inches away from mine. The static in the video grew louder, distorting the sound. And then, turned its head. It looked directly at the camera. I dropped the phone. My breath came in sharp, shallow gasps. This isn't real. This isn't real. A noise snapped me back to reality. A soft creak. The sound of weight shifting on the floorboards. Right behind me. I turned, pulse hammering in my throat. The room was empty, but the air was different, thicker, heavier. I reached down, hands trembling, grabbing my phone off the floor. The screen was black. The security app was gone, like it had never been there at all. A new notification popped up. New recording. Living room, 3:15 a.m. The time on my phone read 3:14 a.m. Something was waiting for me. The clock on my phone flicked to 3:15 a.m. My fingers hovered over the notification, but I couldn't bring myself to tap it. I already knew what it would show. It was waiting for me. The room felt suffocating, like the walls had closed in just a little while I wasn't looking. I forced my legs to move, stepping toward the door, hesitating for just a moment before gripping the handle. It was cold. I pressed my ear against the wood, listening. Silence. Too silent. I took a breath and turned the knob. The door swung open into the hallway, where everything looked normal. No shadows, no movement, but my gut twisted with dread, warning me that something had changed. Slowly, I crept forward, my bare feet barely making a sound against the floor. Every step felt wrong, like I was walking into a place I didn't belong. I made my way to the living room, my phone still clutched in my hand. And then I saw it. The couch, the coffee table, the dim glow from the streetlights outside, and something sitting in my chair. It was me. I was facing away, back straight, hands resting on my knees, perfectly still. My breath hitched. My entire body screamed at me to turn around, to run. But I couldn't. I had to know. I took a slow, shaky step forward. The air around me grew heavier, pressing against my skin like something was sinking its fingers into my body. Another step. The thing in the chair didn't move. I reached for my phone, my thumb trembling as I tapped the notification. The security footage opened, the grainy black and white image of the living room appearing on the screen. It showed me standing in the doorway, and it showed the thing in the chair. At first, it remained perfectly still, but then it twitched, a slow, unnatural jerk of the head, as if it had just realized I was there. And then, with a sickening slowness, turned to look at me. My breath stopped. On the screen, the thing's face was still blurred. But in real life, I saw it clearly. It was my face but wrong. Too smooth, too empty, like skin stretched over something that didn't understand what a human was supposed to look like. The mouth was too wide. The eyes were too deep. It smiled. And then, in my own voice, it whispered, "You shouldn't be here." My phone screen glitched. The feed flickered. The last thing I saw before it went black was the thing standing up. And then, the lights went out. The darkness swallowed me. A thick, suffocating blackness that felt alive. My breath came in short, panicked gasps as I stumbled backward, heart hammering so hard it drowned out everything else. It moved. The thing that looked like me, it stood up. I couldn't see it anymore, but I could feel it, right in front of me. Then, a voice. My voice. Soft. Mocking. "Why are you scared?" I shuddered, pressing my back against the wall. My fingers fumbled for my phone, tapping the screen, desperate for light. Nothing. The screen was black, dead. A shuffle in the darkness. Closer. I held my breath. Then cold fingers touched my arm. I screamed. I twisted away, bolting toward where I knew the hallway was, my shoulders slamming into the doorframe as I half tripped, half ran toward my room. I didn't care if I hit a wall. I didn't care if I fell. I just needed to get away. Behind me, footsteps. Slow, deliberate, matching my movements exactly. I reached my bedroom, throwing myself inside, slamming the door shut. My hands flew to the lock, twisting it just as the handle jerked. Something was trying to open it. A pause. Silence. Then, knock, knock, knock. Soft, rhythmic, just like before. My entire body trembled. I backed away from the door, gripping my useless phone like a lifeline. My breath was coming too fast, too sharp. I tried to focus, tried to think. It wasn't real. It wasn't real. But then, a new sound. Not from the hallway. From inside the room. Static. I turned my head slowly. My closet door was open. And inside, from the darkness, a red recording light blinked. Camera. A camera pointed at my bed. I didn't put it there. My body locked up in sheer horror. The blinking red light reflected in the mirror across the room, and in that mirror, I saw myself, standing behind me, smiling. The lights flickered back on, and I was alone. My phone vibrated violently in my hand, the screen lighting up. The security app was back. The motion detection alert flashed across the screen. New recording. Bedroom, 3:33 a.m. I didn't watch it. I left the house that night. I never went back. But sometimes, late at night, I still get notifications. Motion detected. And I know wherever I go, it's still watching me. It started with a single notification. Motion detected. Attic camera, 11:27 p.m. I frowned at my phone. Attic camera? That had to be a mistake. I only had 4 cameras: front door, back door, driveway, and living room. There was no attic camera. My thumb hovered over the notification. Maybe it was a glitch, a random system error. But something about it made my skin crawl. The attic was the one place in this house I never went. It was cramped, filled with dust and forgotten junk from the previous owner. My phone buzzed again. Motion detected. Attic camera, 11:28 p.m. A second time. I swallowed hard, then tapped the notification. The app opened, and my screen filled with grainy, black and white footage. The angle was high, showing the wooden beams of the attic, the slanted ceiling, the old boxes stacked in the corners. And in the center of the screen, a single open hatch. I felt my stomach twist. I didn't remember leaving the attic hatch open. In fact, I was sure I had never opened it at all since moving in. My hands tightened around my phone. Someone was up there. The footage flickered. The image distorted for a second, just long enough for me to think I saw movement. A shape shifting in the shadows. Then the feed cut to black. Connection lost. My breath caught in my throat. The room around me felt suddenly too still, like the entire house was waiting. Then, a soft creak above me. Something was moving in the attic. I stood there, frozen, my mind racing. No, it's just the house settling. That's all. But deep down, I didn't believe it. I forced myself to move, stepping into the hallway, my head tilted upward toward the ceiling. The attic hatch was just above the hallway entrance. Closed, just like always. But as I stood there, staring, the air changed. Felt wrong. Like something up there was listening. Then, a single, slow sound. Knock, 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 from inside the attic. I turned and ran. I didn't stop running until I was in my bedroom with the door locked. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped my phone. I forced myself to breathe, to think. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe it was just the wind. But I knew that wasn't true. Because when I opened the security app again, the attic camera feed was back. And this time, someone was standing there. I nearly threw my phone. The figure was tall, hunched slightly, standing just beneath the wooden beams. The grainy night vision warped its features, making its face impossible to see. But I could tell it was staring directly at the camera. Then, it moved. A slow, jerking step forward. Then another. My breath caught in my throat. The thing in the attic was coming closer. Then, the feed cut to black. A new notification popped up. Motion detected. Upstairs hallway, 11:32 p.m. My entire body went cold. That camera was right outside my bedroom door. And then, tap, tap, tap. Something dragged its fingers across my door. I covered my mouth to keep from screaming. My heart slammed against my ribs as I backed away, pressing myself against the farthest wall. The tapping stopped. And then, the handle turned. Slowly, deliberately. I didn't think. I bolted into my closet, shoving myself into the cramped darkness, covering my mouth with both hands to muffle my breathing. The door creaked open. Footsteps. Something had entered my room. I squeezed my eyes shut, my entire body locked in fear. My phone was still in my hand, the screen dim, but I didn't dare look. Then, a voice, right outside the closet. Low, familiar. I know you're in there. The closet door rattled. And I knew, if I looked up, I would see it staring at me through the slats. I held my breath. Don't move. Don't make a sound. Something stood on the other side of the closet door. I could hear it breathing, slow, deliberate, too deep to be human. My fingers tightened around my phone. The dim glow of the screen, the only light in the suffocating darkness. Then, a slow, deliberate tap. It was touching the door. I clenched my teeth, trying to keep myself from shaking. My eyes flicked down to my phone, and before I could stop myself, my thumb tapped the security app. The screen flickered to life and my stomach dropped. The attic camera was on. The feed was working again, and it showed the attic hatch was open. Something had come down. My heart pounded against my ribs as I switched to the hallway camera. The image was too dark. The motion detection should have activated the night vision, but the screen remained a swirling mess of shadows and static. And then, it moved. A shape, right outside my door. The figure was standing so close to the camera that all I could see was a blurred, distorted face pressed against the lens. I barely had time to process the horror of it before the thing in the hallway did something that made my entire body go cold. Turned its head, and stared directly into the closet. The closet I was hiding in. It knew. My phone buzzed violently in my hand. A new notification. Motion detected. Bedroom camera. 11:35 p.m. My breath hitched. Bedroom camera? I didn't have a bedroom camera. Then, a soft click. The sound of a camera turning on. Inside the closet. Right above me. I looked up, and saw a blinking red light. The last thing I heard before the screen went black was the closet door slowly creaking open. The door opened an inch. Then another. The darkness beyond the slats stretched toward me, heavy and alive. I wanted to scream, to bolt, but my body wouldn't listen. Then, a whisper, right beside my ear. "Why are you hiding?" I snapped. I lunged forward, shoving the closet door open with all my strength, nearly falling onto the floor as I scrambled to my feet. The room was empty. No one was there. My chest heaved. My fingers gripped my phone so tightly I thought it would crack. But I knew it was still here. I turned and ran. The hallway stretched before me, the attic hatch looming above like a silent mouth waiting to swallow me whole. I didn't look up. I didn't want to see what was watching me from the darkness. I sprinted down the stairs, past the living room, toward the front door. My fingers fumbled with the lock, sweat dripping down my back. Then, click, every light in the house went out. The only illumination came from my phone screen. My shaking hands tapped the security app one last time. And the attic camera feed was still on. I shouldn't have looked. I shouldn't have looked. Because the screen showed the attic hatch wide open. And something crawling down. Not climbing. Crawling. Its limbs moved unnaturally, jerking with every frame. Its head twisting too far, too fast, as if it could hear my breath from downstairs. I forced my hands to move, yanking the front door open and stumbling outside. I didn't stop running until I reached my car. From the driver's seat, I looked up at my house. And in the attic window, I saw myself, standing perfectly still, watching, smiling. My phone vibrated one last time. Motion detected. Inside vehicle, 11:41 p.m. I didn't check. I just drove. And I never went back. But sometimes, even now, I still get notifications. Motion detected. Attic camera. There is no attic camera. There never was. It started with a pattern. Every night, at exactly 3 a.m., my porch camera sent a motion alert. Every night I checked the footage. And every night, there was nothing there. At first, I chalked it up to a glitch. Maybe the wind. Maybe a stray cat. But something about it bothered me. The footage always showed the same thing. The empty porch, the faint glow of the street lamp, the closed front door. Too still. Too perfect. One night, I decided to watch the live feed instead. Just to prove to myself that nothing was there. At 2:59 a.m., I sat on my couch, phone in hand, waiting. My heart thudded as the seconds ticked down. 3 a.m., the app pinged. I tapped the notification. The camera feed opened. And this time I saw it. The front door opened. Just an inch. Just enough for a shadow to appear in the doorway. My stomach dropped. I hadn't moved. I hadn't unlocked it. And yet there it was, open. I sat frozen, my fingers gripping my phone so tightly they ached. The shadow in the doorway didn't move. It wasn't a person. It wasn't anything solid. It was just darkness. A black void spilling into my house. I forced myself to look at the real door. It was closed, locked, but on my phone, the door was still open, and the shadow was stepping inside. I scrambled to my feet, my breath coming in sharp gasps. The app froze. The camera feed glitched. And then, the lights went out. A whisper brushed against my ear. I'm inside now. The whisper sent a jolt of pure, ice-cold terror through me, rooting me to the spot as the darkness swallowed the room. My breath hitched, my pulse hammering in my throat, and for a moment, I could hear nothing. Not the hum of the fridge, not the distant whir of the ceiling fan. Just silence. The kind of silence that felt unnatural. Wrong. My phone slipped from my trembling fingers, the screen flickering weakly on the floor beside me. I need to move. I need to turn on the lights. I need to, but then a footstep. Close. Inside the house. I squeezed my eyes shut, my breath shuddering as I reached out blindly for the lamp on the end table. My fingers fumbled, knocking something over. Another step. Closer. Too close. I slammed the lamp switch. Nothing. The power was still out. My hands were slick with sweat as I scrambled backward, my foot hitting my fallen phone. The screen glowed faintly in the darkness, and for a split second, I saw my reflection in the black screen. Except I wasn't alone. A shape loomed behind me, tall and impossibly thin, its head tilted at an unnatural angle, watching. I spun around. Nothing was there, but the air was thick, suffocating. I could feel it. I reached down, grabbing my phone with shaking hands, and tapped the camera feed again. The image flickered to life. The front door was still open. The shadow had stepped fully inside. It stood in the middle of the living room now, completely still, like it was waiting. My hands trembled as I lifted my eyes from the phone and looked at the real room around me. Empty. But I knew better. The feed on my phone showed something that wasn't there. But was. My stomach twisted as I watched the shadow on the screen shift, its body elongating, its head slowly turning toward the camera. Toward me. It knows I can see it. The phone slipped from my hands again as I took a step back. Then another, my knees nearly giving out. Get out. Get out now. I turned toward the hallway leading to my bedroom, my hands groping in the darkness, trying to feel my way. Then I heard it. Not a whisper. Not a step. Breathing. Right next to me. I ran. I sprinted down the hall, slamming into the bedroom door, shoving it shut behind me. My hands fumbled for the lock. Click. My chest heaved as I staggered back, my ears straining for any sound from the other side. Silence. But the silence was worse. Felt like the house itself was holding its breath. My phone buzzed in my hand. Motion detected. Bedroom camera, 3:02 a.m. Bedroom camera? I don't have a bedroom camera. I swallowed hard, my entire body trembling as I forced myself to tap the notification. The screen flickered, and then the live feed appeared. The camera was placed high up, near the ceiling. It showed my bedroom. It showed me, standing near the door, my face pale, my eyes wide with terror. And behind me the closet door was open. The screen glitched, a burst of static. Then movement. A long, thin hand reached out from the darkness inside the closet, stretching toward me. My breath caught. I turned. The closet door was closed, but on the screen it was wide open. A single message flashed across the phone screen. It's in the room with you. My blood turned to ice. The air in the room grew colder, pressing against my skin. I backed away from the closet, my legs weak, my lungs refusing to take in enough air. Then the door handle turned. From the inside, the lights flickered back on, and the closet door creaked open. The closet door opened slowly, inch by inch, the hinges letting out a soft groan that sent a cold shiver through my entire body. Something was in there. I knew it before I saw it, could feel it pressing against the air, twisting the space around it. My breath hitched as I backed up, the edge of the bed hitting the backs of my knees. My phone buzzed violently in my trembling hand. Motion detected. Bedroom camera, 3:03 a.m. I didn't want to look. I didn't need to. The closet door was open now, here in real life. But my hand moved on its own, my thumb tapping the screen, the live feed flickering to life. The camera showed me, standing in the same spot, frozen, the glow from my phone casting a sickly light on my face. And behind me, the closet wasn't empty. The thing inside was tall, thin, its limbs too long, its head twisted at an unnatural angle. It had no face, just darkness where a face should be. But the worst part, the part that sent my stomach dropping, my legs locking in terror, was that it was leaning out, closer to me. I forced myself to move, to turn around. Nothing. The closet was empty. But the camera said otherwise. I was being watched. My pulse pounded as I took another step back, my phone shaking in my grip. The figure on the screen moved. Its long, bony fingers reached out. My breath caught. It was reaching for me. I didn't think. I lunged forward, grabbing the closet door and slamming it shut. My chest heaved as I braced against it, my skin crawling, my fingers locked around the handle. I needed to get out of here. I turned toward the bedroom door, and it was open. My stomach lurched. I locked it. I know I locked it. My phone vibrated again. Motion detected. Hallway camera, 3:04 a.m. Hallway? I barely had time to think before the screen flickered and showed the live feed. The hallway outside my room, the door wide open, and the shadow standing in the doorway. Not on the camera. In real life. I lifted my eyes from the phone, my blood running cold. The figure was there, standing just outside my room, watching me. The lights flickered. The air grew impossibly heavy. Then, in my own voice, it whispered, You left the door open for me. The lights went out. And the last thing I saw was the shadow rushing toward me. The darkness swallowed everything. I staggered backward, my breath ragged, my fingers tightening around my useless phone. The air was thick, wrong, like the room itself was collapsing in on me. It was here, inside the room. I could feel it. Then, a whisper, soft, amused, right beside my ear. I see you. I ran. I bolted through the darkness, slamming into the nightstand, nearly tripping over my own feet. I reached for the door, but it slammed shut. The handle wouldn't turn. My breath came in quick, panicked gasps as I yanked at it, my pulse hammering in my skull. Let me out. Let me out. Behind me, footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. I didn't turn around. Couldn't. I gritted my teeth, twisting the lock. Click. The door burst open and I stumbled into the hallway, nearly collapsing onto the floor. My vision blurred as I pushed myself up and ran. Down the stairs, toward the front door. Then, the security app buzzed in my hand. Motion detected. Front door camera, 3:06 a.m. My stomach twisted. I knew before I even looked. My thumb hovered over the notification. Don't check. Just run. But some horrible part of me needed to see. I tapped the screen. The live feed flickered on. The front door was open. And standing in the doorway was me. I stopped breathing. The figure on the screen stood perfectly still. Same clothes. Same posture. Same face except the eyes. Too wide. Too dark. Too empty. It smiled. And then, in real life, the front door creaked open. A rush of cold air spilled into the house. And my own voice whispered, "Come outside." I didn't move. I couldn't move. The open front door yawned before me, the cold air pressing against my skin like invisible fingers. Outside, the street was still, too still. No wind. No sound. Just the thing that looked like me standing in the doorway, its head tilted too far to one side. Smiling. Waiting. My phone vibrated violently in my hand. A new notification. Motion detected. Living room camera, 3:07 a.m. My breath caught. I tapped the screen with shaking fingers. The camera feed flickered on. And my stomach dropped. There were two of me. One standing in the doorway. And one standing in the middle of the living room. Watching. My vision blurred, my chest tightening. This isn't real. This isn't happening. The one outside took a slow step forward. The one inside took a slow step toward me. My fingers dug into my palms. My entire body locked in place. What do I do? What do I do? Then, they spoke. At the same time. In my voice. You let me in. The lights went out. The front door slammed shut. And then, hands grabbed me. Cold, thin fingers wrapped around my wrists, my arms, my neck. I thrashed, trying to scream. But the air was heavy. Suffocating. The dark pulled me down, the walls of my own house pressing against me like a living thing. I reached for my phone, but it wasn't in my hand anymore. I was falling, or sinking, or being pulled into something deeper than the dark. A final thought clawed its way through my mind before everything disappeared. I was never alone in this house. Sunlight streamed through the windows. My house was quiet, empty. Everything was exactly where it had been the night before, except for one thing. My phone was sitting neatly on the coffee table. Face up, screen unlocked. The security app was still open. And on the front door camera feed, the timestamp read 3:33 a.m. The front door was wide open, and I was standing outside, smiling. I live alone. It's something I remind myself of often. When the house creaks at night, when the wind presses against the windows, when the silence feels too deep, I tell myself there's no one else here. There's never been anyone else here. That's why, when my phone buzzed at 2:48 a.m. with a security alert, my stomach twisted. Motion detected. Living room camera. I sat up in bed. My breath caught in my throat. The house was quiet. Too quiet. My fingers trembled as I tapped the notification, opening the live feed. The camera flickered on. and my blood ran cold. Someone was sitting on my couch. A man. His back was to the camera, hunched slightly, hands resting on his knees, completely still. He wasn't looking around, wasn't moving at all. Just sitting there. My pulse hammered as I stared at the screen, my mind scrambling for answers. How did he get in? The doors were locked. The windows were shut. My security system didn't even go off. I forced myself to breathe, trying to think. Call the police? Get out of the house? But my body wouldn't move. Then, he moved. Slowly. His head began to turn. I sucked in a breath, my fingers tightening around the phone. He was looking at the camera now. At me. I wanted to see his face, to know who he was, what he was, but I couldn't, because his face was blurred. Not like the camera was out of focus, like reality itself was rejecting him. I stared, my breath frozen in my lungs. And then, he smiled. The feed cut to black. My phone buzzed with a new notification. Motion detected. Hallway camera. 2:49 a.m. He was coming toward my room. My heart nearly stopped. Hallway camera? That meant he was coming closer. I forced myself to move, scrambling out of bed, locking the door with shaking fingers. My phone buzzed again. Motion detected. Hallway camera. 2:50 a.m. I didn't want to look. I had to look. The feed flickered to life. The hallway outside my bedroom was dim, the only light coming from the faint glow of the night vision camera. At first, I saw nothing. Just the door to my room, the hallway stretching toward the living room. Empty. Then I saw it. A shadow. Not moving. Not walking. Just standing. Right outside my door. I clapped a hand over my mouth to stifle a sob. The man from the couch, he was here. His back was still turned. His posture the same as before, hunched slightly, hands hanging limp at his sides. Then, he moved. Not his body, just his head, turning. Slowly, his face came into view, and my stomach dropped. It was still blurred, still wrong, like something trying to be human and failing. Then, he knocked. 3 slow, deliberate knocks on my bedroom door. I nearly screamed. My entire body went ice cold. Every nerve in me screaming, do not open it. The knocking stopped. My phone buzzed. Motion detected. Bedroom camera. 2:51 a.m. Bedroom camera? My lungs locked. My vision swam. I don't have a bedroom camera. Then, a soft click. The closet door creaked open. Behind me, the closet door creaked open. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't turn around. My mind screamed at me to run, move, do something, anything. But my body was frozen in place, locked in sheer terror. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. But my phone buzzed again. Motion detected. Bedroom camera. 2:52 a.m. I forced my shaking fingers to tap the notification. The screen flickered, the live feed opening, but the angle was wrong. Too high up, like the camera was mounted near the ceiling. The footage showed my bedroom, my bed, my nightstand, me, standing in the middle of the room, clutching my phone, staring at the closet. And behind me, something stepped out. My breath hitched. A figure unfolded from the darkness inside the closet. Its limbs moved wrong, bending at unnatural angles, its head tilting too far to one side. It was tall, too tall. Its arms hung long at its sides, fingers twitching. And its face was still blurred. I clenched my teeth, forcing myself to turn around. Nothing. The closet was empty. But the camera said otherwise. My stomach twisted violently. I backed away, my skin crawling, my heart hammering against my ribs. It's not real. It's not real. Then, the thing in the footage moved, took a slow step forward, then another, toward me, and then, tilted its head, like it could see me watching it. I wanted to drop my phone. I wanted to scream. But then, for the first time, it spoke, and it used my voice. Why are you in my house? My knees buckled. My vision swam. My house? My house? The lights flickered, and the last thing I saw before everything went black was the closet door swinging open. Darkness swallowed me. The room vanished. The floor beneath me feeling too distant, like I was sinking into something deeper than the dark. My ears rang. My breath came in sharp, broken gasps. I reached out blindly, but there was nothing. No walls. No floor. No house. Then, a whisper. Soft. Familiar. Too familiar. "You're in my house." My stomach twisted violently. No, this is my house. I tried to move, tried to scream, but my body felt wrong. Heavy. Unfamiliar. I looked down, but I couldn't see my hands. I couldn't see anything. Then, the lights flickered back on. I was standing in the living room, the couch, the coffee table, the dim glow of the porch light outside. Everything exactly where it should be. Except, I was sitting on the couch. My mouth went dry. My own body sat there, hunched slightly, hands resting on my knees, completely still. I took a step forward, my legs weak, my breath coming in sharp bursts. No, this isn't right. I lifted my hand, except I didn't have a hand. The figure on the couch looked up at me, and for the first time I saw its face. It was me, but its eyes, they weren't mine. Dark, empty, wrong. Then, it smiled, and whispered, in my own voice, "You shouldn't be here." My phone buzzed. Motion detected. Front door camera, 3:33 a.m. The screen flickered. The camera feed opened. Outside, standing on the porch, was me, staring in, smiling. The front door unlocked. And then, the lights went out. I'm not the paranoid type, but after a few nights of strange noises, faint shuffling outside my window, the back door creaking when no one was there, I decided to install security cameras. Just to be safe. Just to be sure. I set them up myself. One above the front door, one watching the backyard, another covering the driveway, and a final one near my bedroom window. Nothing could get close without me knowing. The first night, I slept better than I had in weeks. The quiet blinking of the cameras made me feel secure, safe, until the next morning. I was drinking my coffee, half awake, when I opened the security app on my phone. Most of the night was uneventful. A raccoon in the yard, passing car, the wind rustling the trees. Then, a motion alert. Backyard camera, 3:15 a.m. My stomach tightened. I tapped the notification. The footage loaded, showing the grainy, black and white view of my backyard. At first, I saw nothing but the usual, tall grass, the wooden fence, the dim glow of the porch light. Then I saw him, a man, standing directly in front of the camera. I felt my breath hitch. He wasn't moving. He wasn't trying to get inside. He was just standing there, watching. But the worst part, he had no face, just a dark, featureless void where his face should have been. No eyes, no mouth, just emptiness. My hands tightened around my phone. Is this a camera glitch? A shadow? I rewound the footage, watching frame by frame. At 3:14 a.m., the yard was empty. 3:15 a.m., he was just there. No approach, no movement. 1 second, nothing. The next, him. My pulse pounded in my ears. I scrubbed forward. At 3:17 a.m., the screen glitched. A brief blur of static. And when the image cleared, he was gone. No walking away. No fading into the darkness. Just gone. A chill ran through me. My eyes flicked toward the window, toward the yard. Empty. I tried to shake it off. Maybe it was just a glitch. A bug in the system. A trick of the light. Then, a new notification popped up. Motion detected. Driveway camera, 3:15 a.m. My breath caught. Another camera? I tapped the screen. The footage loaded. The man was there too, standing directly in front of the lens. Same position. Same void of a face. At the exact same time. 3:15 a.m. But that wasn't possible. Because in the backyard footage, he had never moved. My hands felt cold. My chest tightened. No, this isn't right. Then, another alert. Motion detected. Front door camera, 3:15 a.m. I didn't want to look, but my thumb moved on its own. The footage loaded, and there he was, standing inches from my front door. His faceless head tilted slightly, like he knew I was watching. And then, the camera feed cut to black. My phone screen went dark. The camera feed was gone. Disconnected. My breath hitched as I tapped the app, trying to refresh it. Nothing. A dull ringing filled my ears. This isn't a glitch. This isn't normal. I forced myself to move, standing up so fast my chair scraped against the floor. My eyes flicked toward the front door. Locked. But that didn't make me feel any better. A single thought clawed its way through my mind. He's out there. I opened the app again, frantically switching between cameras. Black screens. No signal. All of them were down. Then, a sound. A slow, deliberate tap. On the window. I froze. The only light in the room came from my phone, casting a dim glow across the walls. I didn't want to look. I didn't want to see. But I had to. My head turned and my stomach dropped. He was there, outside my bedroom window, standing perfectly still. His face, or what should have been his face, was inches from the glass. A deep, empty void, darker than the night behind him. I staggered backward, nearly dropping my phone. My pulse pounded in my skull. No, this isn't real. The window was closed. Locked. He couldn't get in. But then, he lifted his hand, and slowly pressed it against the glass. My lungs locked. A deep, twisting horror spread through my chest, because there was no reflection, no outline of a hand against the glass, just a dark stain where his palm touched, like the world itself was rejecting his presence. Then, my phone buzzed. Motion detected. Inside the house, 3:16 a.m. A cold, paralyzing fear crawled up my spine. Inside? That's not possible. I stared at the notification, my breath coming in shallow gasps. No. My fingers shook as I tapped the screen. The footage loaded. The camera showed my living room. Empty. First. Then, a shadow moved. Not from the door. Not from a window. From inside the house. From the hallway. From the darkness leading to my bedroom. My entire body locked up. The screen flickered. A burst of static. And then, the feed cut to black. My phone buzzed again. Motion detected. Bedroom camera, 3:17 a.m. I don't have a bedroom camera. Then, a breath. Not mine. Behind me. The breath was right behind me. Cold. Slow. Too deep to be mine. I didn't turn around. Couldn't. Every instinct in my body screamed, don't look. But I felt it. Something standing there. Close enough that I could feel the air shift. My phone vibrated violently in my hand. Motion detected. Bedroom camera, 3:17 a.m. I don't have a bedroom camera. I swallowed hard, my throat dry as sandpaper, and tapped the notification. The screen flickered, and I saw myself, standing in the middle of my bedroom, staring at the camera. My stomach twisted. No, that's not me. That's not me. The me on the screen stood too still. My arms hung limply at my sides, my head slightly tilted. My face was wrong, blurred, like a bad signal trying to form something that shouldn't exist. Then, I smiled. Not a normal smile. Too wide, too forced, like something pretending to be human but not quite understanding how. My breathing turned ragged. This isn't real. Then, the me on the screen moved. Not walking, glitching. 1 second I stood near the bed. The next frame I was closer. Then closer. Then directly in front of the camera. My heart stopped. The me on the screen tilted its head. And then, it looked up. Right at me. Not at the camera. At me. It knew I was watching. The screen flickered violently. The static grew louder. Then, the power cut out. The room plunged into darkness. For a single, suffocating moment, there was nothing. No sound. No movement. Just the deep, horrible feeling that I was not alone. Then, a whisper, right beside my ear. I see you. Something grabbed my wrist. And the last thing I heard before everything went black was the camera clicking on. Cold fingers wrapped around my wrist. Not human. Not warm. Wrong. I thrashed, yanking my arm back, stumbling blindly in the dark. My foot caught on something, the edge of the bed, the nightstand. I didn't care. I hit the floor hard, pain shooting through my knee, but I was already crawling backward, my breath coming in short, frantic gasps. The room was silent, but I knew I wasn't alone. My phone lay on the ground, the screen flickering weakly, casting just enough light to illuminate the floor. The grainy glow from the security app was still open, still streaming. I looked, and I saw myself, standing in the doorway, watching, smiling. My chest tightened. No, 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 no. My real self, I was here, on the floor, but the me in the doorway was upright, calm, waiting. Then, the smile disappeared, and I took a step into the room. I choked on a breath. This isn't happening. The lights flickered back on, and I was alone. The doorway was empty. The air in the room was thick, suffocating, pressing against my skin like a warning. I didn't imagine that. I didn't. My phone vibrated in my hand. A new notification. I forced myself to look. Motion detected. Front door camera. 3:19 a.m. I tapped the screen. The footage loaded. And standing outside my front door was me. I was staring directly into the camera, face still blurred. Then, I raised my hand and knocked. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. From inside my house, someone knocked back.